So they all get back. Tony Stark has his life, has his daughter. They ask for his help. Tony's like, no, I don't want to jeopardize what I've built. Just perfect for fucking Tony. Like, Tony Stark is, I've had a love-hate relationship with his character because his character has created most of the situations outside of the New York debacle. He's been loosely tied. Ultron failure, the Sokovia Accords, which was created because he created Ultron. He creates another issue. Like, fucking rich and white privilege. That don't tell you that don't fuck up shit. I don't know what does. Well, anyway, so he sends Cap and them away, but in true Tony Stark fashion, he figures out the problem and figures out how to move through time. Now, this is where things get, to me, gets kind of bogged down with what they were trying to do. Now, actually, I'll wait to the end to go all that. So Tony comes and tells him he's figured out how to time travel. So they all put this plan together to figure out how to use this and the limited resources they have to pull this move off to get the stones. And they end up figuring out that at least 3 stones were in New York. There's the Mind Stone, the Tesseract, and the Time Stone was all in New York at the same time. So they sent a team of, I think it was Cap, Iron Man, and the Hulk to New York to get those 3 stones. The Power Stone was on Morag, where Star-Lord originally got it from. War Machine and Nebula's job to get that one. Then was it Morag? Then also Clint and Black Widow was charged to go get the Soul Stone from I can't remember. Was it Vomir or wherever those was? The last stone, the Ether. They had to get the Ether from Jane Foster from back on, what was it, Thor? Thor 2, and was it Rocket Raccoon, and Thor took care of that one. So with Tony, Steve, and Hawk's team, Hawk goes to the Sanctum Centauri to talk to the Ancient One to convince her to give him the Time Stone. She did the whole same little knock your soul out of your body move that she did on Doctor Strange in the movie. Eventually, he convinces her to give him the stone. Meanwhile, Cap has a fight with himself to get the Loki scepter from the Hydra agent / Shield agents that took it after the Battle of New York. And finally, when they tried to get the Tesseract, there was a little incident with the Hawk from that timeline, and they lost the case. The Tesseract spun out in front of Loki, and apparently Loki picks it up and disappears with the Tesseract that from the New York timeline. So without the Tesseract, Tony and Steve decides to go back even further to the only other place that they knew where not only a Tesseract was, but also the Pym particles they were going to need to get back. Because apparently, if I didn't mention before, the Pym particles are needed to help them move as fuel or whatever to travel through time. So they go back to the base of the original base, or was it the base that Captain America was born at or trained at? Whatever. It's the same. I believe it was the same base that we seen in Captain America: Winter Soldier that got blown up. So each of them has an interesting moment where Tony gets to talk to his dad for a few minutes, and Steve gets to see his girl Peggy from behind the glass. It was kind of weird, kind of sweet, but also kind of creepy at the same time. After Tony and Steve both Steve gets the Pym particles. Meanwhile, Tony gets the Tesseract. They both get out of there. with the Tesseract and the Pym particles, and they head back to their original time. Meanwhile, you have War Machine and Nebula on Morag, waiting waiting for Peter Quill to show up to do his iconic dance scene, but it's not as iconic when you're watching it from the outside and just seeing this fool dance around singing to himself. So they knock out Peter. Steal the what was the device he used to break into the vault, and they start to leave with that stone. But however, just before Nebula was able to get out of there, she trips out and breaks down. Apparently, she shares a network with her past self. War Machine gets off with that gem. Now to move over to Thor and Rocket. They show up on Asgard. Yeah, really funny sequence watching them both sneak past Loki in his cell. You have a really touching moment where Thor and his dad bod, or he looks like the dude from The Big Lebowski. But anyway, he runs into his mother, and his mother immediately just knows what's going on. While Thor is talking to his mother, you get a really sweet moment where he gets to have a little bit of closure with his mother, because he was never able to get that. Meanwhile, Rocket sneaks up on Jane Foster. I'm guessing he probably stabbed her in the ass with the device to pull the ether from her, but he gets it and he runs off. Before Thor leaves, though, he calls Mjolnir to him, and with Mjolnir and the ether, they head back. Next up, after that, you have Hawkeye and Black Widow on Vormir, I believe that's what it's called. I'm hoping I'm not getting it wrong. Vormir might be one of the fucking towns from the Lord of the Rings, for all I remember. So anyway, they get to Vormir, they climb the mountain, they run into Red Skull. He lays down what the price is. So immediately Clint says, well, fuck it, I ain't got a family, sacrifice myself, it's all good. Him and Black Widow get into it. Ultimately ends to Black Widow sacrificing herself in order for Hawkeye to get the Soul Stone. So with all this being done, let me go back to Nebula. Apparently she has a network to her younger self. Her younger self starts to malfunction as well as her, and Thanos fucking figures out the whole entire plan of what they're up to. Thanos and his ship shows up on Morag and basically takes Nebula. The younger Nebula, in her incessant need to please her father, switches places with the current day version of Nebula and goes back with everyone else to the current timeline. Now they get the gems. They get the gems together. They decide that Hawk should be the one, since he's the strongest, to use the glove. So Hawk puts the glove on, hits the snap. Meanwhile, when he hits the snap, he brings everybody else. They show this by basically having Hawkeye's wife call him, which I must say, they must have an excellent cell phone carrier that 5 years after the snap, she can just call my man right back like that. But anyway, the snap brings everybody back. While this time, past Nebula, before coming back, she gave her father the Pym particles. How the fuck did she get? That's a little bit of oversight that I got to figure out. How the fuck did Nebula get back if she gave Thanos the Pym particles they needed to travel back through the time bridge, or whatever the fuck you want to call it? But anyway, she opens up the machine and Thanos comes through the time portal and with his ship. So just after this, after they finally start to figure out that people are coming back, Thanos fucking lays waste to the whole entire Avengers facility, like just blows it all to hell. Somehow everybody fucking survives that. Don't know how. Like, he fucking leveled the goddamn place. There's no way. I can see Hawk surviving, maybe a few others, but I was expecting at least in that sequence one of the other Avengers to die. Like somebody, I felt like somebody should have been died or fucked up or anything. So it becomes this weird race where Hawk and War Machine and Rocket is trapped underneath the facility with it flooding. Hawkeye got blasted into some corridor with the glove, and the little T'Chari foot soldiers is chasing him to get the glove for Thanos. Um, Meanwhile, was it Thor, Cap, and Iron Man got blasted somewhere, but they went to go fight to take on Thanos. Meanwhile, Hawkeye's running, and it ends up with, during this time, current day, Nebula convinces past Gamora that, I know you're not really a bad guy, you're kind of playing around, help me. So they end up teaming up. Thor, Iron Man, and Cap starts fighting Thanos. Thanos is whooping their ass. There is a cool moment where Thanos knocks out Iron Man, puts down Thor, and basically starts beating the shit out of Cap, breaks his shield. And Thor comes in. Thanos is whooping on Thor like he's got his axe to his chest, about to press it into Thor. Thanos is about to press the axe into Thor's chest, where you start to see Mjolnir, who's off to the side because Thor brought Mjolnir with him back from the past, because Thor's an asshole like that. You see Mjolnir moving, and it hits Thanos, and you think it might have been Thor, but lo and behold, Captain America is now rocking Mjolnir. Like, I can say, for a person who's never used that damn hammer, he was kicking ass with it. I know some people don't like, I've talked to doesn't like the scene. I really didn't mind it. It was a cool moment. It was a callback to the Age of Ultron, when they were always trying to move the hammer and to see who was worthy. So apparently Steve Rogers is worthy to hold the hammer. So anyway, that doesn't last for long. Cap gets beat, and just when you think it's all said and done, you hear Falcon's voice on the radio saying we're on our way. Next thing you know, a single portal starts to open from Strange, and you see Strange, Spider-Man, and Drax and Mantis come out, and then portals popped up everywhere. Like, you see Black Panther with Shuri, and Okoye comes out. Like, everyone comes out. Like, Doctor Strange, Wong with all the students comes in to join the battle. It's a great moment. We finally get to see Cap say the legendary line, "Avengers assemble," and in the war zone between Thanos and his forces and the Avengers and everyone else. Cool battle sequence. I kind of wish that they could have gone a little bit longer with the action. I felt like at this point in the movie, it was just time to play cleanup and bring it all home. Like, we spent so much time setting all this up, and the battle did give us some cool moments. But for me, I felt it was kind of missing. I mean, because you had all the Black Order was still there. You had the Chitauri, and I was really hoping for some really more cool, individual fight scenes. But it just kind of became this weird race to get the glove back into, like, because they destroyed the original, the first the timers that they built to do the heist, but there was still the gate to the quantum zone in Ant-Man's van. So it became this weird thing, like that it's behind enemy lines, so they're trying to get it there, and everybody's helping to get this glove, which I could see the point of that, but almost felt like I really think they should have focused more on the battle of trying to beat back the forces. Like, I really felt like like they could have had a better time setting up those battles, because you could have created some pretty good matchups in that battle. Like, I'd have loved to see Okoye and the Black Panther take on Proxima Midnight, and Corvus Clay, at least for a quick little like one or like 30 to 90 second battle. A couple of exchange of blows and stuff. You know, just really cool thing. I would like to see One Arm Hawk take and Ant-Man take on I can't remember the big dude, but take that dude on. Then you could have had a rematch of Doctor Strange and Ebony Maw. I feel there was a lot of cool things that they could have did. For the most part, most of the sequence was cool. I mean, we got to see Valkyrie, Spider-Man. Like, they brought everybody in on this one. So Thanos ends up destroying the van and the quantum bridge that was in Scott's van. We did really get to see a really cool sequence when Scarlet Witch rolled up on Thanos. Like, she was looking badass showing up. Like, her eyes was red. You could see the power surging around her. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. That movie did not fucking need Captain Marvel at all. All they really needed was Scarlet Witch, because Scarlet Witch was nearly tore Thanos apart, and I mean literally nearly tore him apart with her powers. This man had to call in like the hammer down protocol from his ship to save his ass. Like, he had to have his ship fire their biggest cannons down at everybody so he can get free. So the ship is raining down fire on everybody. People are trying to get to cover. Doctor Strange's students throwing up shields to try to protect as many as they could, and then the ship the guns stop from firing down on the ground to start firing to space. And once that happened, it was almost eerily reminiscent of Superman flying in to save the day. She comes in and goes right through the ship, takes the whole entire ship out. I really believe in that scene you could have did the same thing with Scarlet Witch. So like, she could, if what she was doing with Thanos, she could have easily fucking blew a hole in that ship. In fact, I would have rather seen, like, when he started doing that, I would have liked to see her fucking just show how powerful Thanos is, how durable he is, but also how strong he is, by throwing him through that ship and using Thanos as a fucking bullet to take out his own ship. It's a cool way to get Thanos out the battle for a few minutes, so you can get those cool little one-on-one battles with all the rest. I mean, that was followed up after Captain Marvel showed up and started, laying some blows on Thanos. You had they had the whole girl power moment with all the women rallied around Captain Marvel, and like, I really just felt that came off cheesy as fuck, only simply because I don't believe Captain Marvel deserves that much respect. I mean, I would have rather seen them rally around Pepper Potts or even Scarlet Witch as a better symbol of what's going on, especially since Black Widow was no longer there. I mean, come on, she has been the prominent female in this franchise from the start. And then just because she ain't got the amazing power set, she gets shifted to the side for Captain Marvel. I don't particularly agree with that. Like Scarlett Johansson playing Black Widow was an amazing character. I've loved her character from the very beginning. She was this whole entire time. She was able to handle or hang with the big boys with no problem whatsoever. After all that, Thanos and Captain Marvel was going at it. Like, Thanos manages to get his hands on the glove. he attempted to put he starts to put it on. Captain Marvel, stops him. She's holding on to the glove so as to keep him doing this, to keep him from doing the snap again. Because at this point he was like, fuck it. I try to get rid of half y'all, and it was